SCTV now presents For the Record.
This year's Black Women's Wellness Day is approaching, and we will talk about this important community health issue next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Hyden. For as complicated as 21st century healthcare is in America, we are also beginning to understand the importance of culturally relevant wellness. Gender, race and culture, geography and socioeconomic status are just a few of the contributing factors to an effective healthcare system. African American women are one of the populations with specific health issues and barriers to care. Madison business, education, and civic leader Lisa Payton Kerr has taken a deep personal and professional interest in this topic, and the result is the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Foundation's signature event, Black Women's Wellness Day, and Payton Kerr is here to talk about the Foundation and the event, along with Dr. Debbie Jones, a hospitalist with SS Dean St. Mary's Hospital, and a Foundation advisor and Wellness Day team member. Mary Wells, a Foundation for Black Women's Wellness ambassador and Wellness Day planning team member, and longtime Madison community leader and Foundation board member, Corinda Rainey Moore. Thank you all very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So Lisa, if you would start, just maybe, 10 years already, my goodness, but talk about the Foundation and where this idea came from and your connection to it.
Yes, so the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness is a Madison-based 501c3 nonprofit organization that I established along with our founding board members 6 years ago, 7 now, here in Dane County to address an issue that we've talked about deeply, and that is health disparities impacting Black women and their families. Our mission is to eliminate those disparities and in the process to empower Black women to elevate their health through education, awareness, mobilizing them on the ground, elevating their voices and involving them in planning solutions, and to simultaneously work with our health systems and other partners, like you said in your introduction. It will take every segment of our community and every segment to impact our outcomes. The Foundation is actually an outgrowth of Black Women's Wellness Day, and I'll tell you just a little bit about that history. 12 years ago, I lost my mother, Roberta Payton, at the age of 64 to congestive heart failure. It was a turning point in my life and a wake-up call that really was a jolt for me, not only personally, but it opened my eyes to a trend that had been happening around me my entire life, my entire family and community, and that was Black women dying in the prime of our lives, in our middle years, 50s, 60s. When we
you were aware of it at the time, Lisa, that
Yes.
that congestive heart failure, one of those things that occurred disproportionately
Yes.
in Black women.
I was aware, but in looking, after my mother's funeral, and up to a year after, I was really grappling with what had happened there. And I looked around and realized that we had buried so many women in my family, so many women I grew up with in my mother's hair salon in Richmond, Virginia, who were 40, 50, 60 at their time of death. And I looked nationally and recognized in a bigger way that this was a national issue. So in 2011, I moved back to Madison with my husband, Kaleem, who is from here, and I brought Black Women's Wellness Day with me. I had started that event 2 years after my mother's death in Maryland with a group of 40 women from the local community who also identified with this concern that I had. And we had hosted it there for a time, moved back here and brought it with me 2011, and it was so well received because Black women here, it resonated with them as well. And there was an urgency to really talk about our health in a way that wasn't being talked about at the time, despite the wonderful efforts of our local health systems and many women, Black women in this community who've been working in many ways for many years, but it needed to be elevated. And Black Women's Wellness Day became that vehicle to elevate the issue.
Dr. Jones, to the extent that you can, help us understand why it is that certain health issues affect certain populations more than others.
It always has. Just genetically, there are certain disease states that are more prevalent depending on where you live or in your race or in your socioeconomic status. But what Black Women Wellness has done has brought answers given by women who care deeply about our community and about the women of these families. We care about the community, the women, and their families. And we're providing programming across the age spectrum, from our young teenagers to middle age to even to our seniors. And we have programming available for all of them to help inspire and to empower and educate women about how to make smart choices that will support and sustain and nurture life, so that these women can be around to help their families and be productive members of their communities. And the beautiful thing about this collaboration is that we have strong support from our community healthcare systems, Meritor, UW, Group Health, as well as Dean St. Mary's. All those hospitals have come together in support of this initiative.
Yes.
You know, Doctor, this still though seems pretty new to me. I mean, the response over the last 10 years, I think we've seen grow, but that does suggest that for decades prior to that, healthcare was slow to acknowledge these culturally relevant issues.
It is clear to reach this community, we're going to have to innovate some things. You're seeing more thinking outside the box to reach certain segments. For example, some of the barbershop initiatives where we're actually having impact on men of colors and their blood pressures reading. Black Women Wellness is right.
African American Men's Health Center.
Right. Yeah. Black Women Wellness is very much in that same lane, in that we're creating a safe space where women can be real and transparent and honest about the challenges, and our programming is designed to be relevant to the real issues that we may be slow to talk about in the doctor's office. For example, Black Women Wellness is a safe space for us to talk about the real things.
Before we take a break, Corinna, just quickly talk about the importance then of the foundation in addressing these issues.
Well, the foundation is actually the basis from which the Black Women's Wellness Day exists. And it is really about building our community, building our communities of women so that they can be empowered to actually make decisions that impact their health and the way that is supported, not just by people that's really close to them, but by members of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness, as well as other members in the community. So it is also about creating programming that the women have told us that they want and they need, and where we are filling a gap that didn't exist for these women to be able to claim their health and to know that they have some power in the health outcomes of themselves and their families. So it is really about creating that safe space, like Dr. Debbie Jones has mentioned, is creating that safe space for women to be able to talk about issues and talk about the challenges, but to also be held accountable for changing their outcomes and for doing something different. And it is so empowering to hear women talk about how they were able to overcome their addiction to substance, or they have lost 100 pounds, and now they were walking with the walker when they came into Black Women's Wellness Day 1 year, and the next year they no longer have that walker because their health has improved so much.
I'm anxious to get your perspective, Mary, from a community perspective. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll do that when we come back right after this on For the Record.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
I'm Rebecca Clayfish. I'll never forget my battle with cancer or the impact it had on my family. That's why I'm shocked Tony Evers and his allies say Scott Walker would end protections for people with pre-existing conditions. People like me. Our bipartisan plan helps people keep their coverage by lowering premiums. Today in Wisconsin, people with pre-existing conditions are already covered. And as long as Scott and I are in office, they always will be.
Imagine facing Wisconsin's bitter cold winter without a warm home, or having to make the tough choice between eating or heating. Unfortunately, over 200,000 of our neighbors in need will face this difficult decision. Many are veterans or the elderly and disabled. Some just young working families struggling to meet their survival needs. Don't be left out in the cold alone. For a hand up, call Energy Services today. at 1-800-506-5596.
Congratulations to Marcia Michelon and Jacob Mills, the ringleaders of Wild Rumpus Circus and Mazomania.
That's all we want people to try to do here at camp is just try. You might surprise yourself.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else, for one thing. I mean, we feel just so lucky that we get to work with kids in this way.
If you know a teacher who deserves to be recognized as a top-notch teacher, send us a letter, an email, or nominate a teacher at channel3000.com.
Sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries and by Concordia University.
Go big. Get everything you need for the school year at Shopko, your back-to-school headquarters. Get 50% off backpacks and buy one, get one 50% off Hanes or Fruit of the Loom package basics, 50% off family denim, and 70-count ruled notebooks, only 19 cents each. Plus, save $10 instantly when you spend $30 on select Kimberly-Clark products. Go big. Get huge savings at Shopko, your back-to-school headquarters. Shopko, proud to call Green Bay and the Fox Valley home.
September 22nd is the 10th annual Black Women's Wellness Day, and it is part of the Black Women's Wellness Foundation, started by Lisa Payton Care. And Lisa Payton Care is with me, as is Dr. Debbie Jones, who is a hospitalist at SSM St. Mary's Hospital. And Mary Wells, Corinda Rainey Moore, both two long community members here. And it's from that perspective, Mary, if you would, talk about Black Women's Wellness Day, the foundation here in Madison, the fact that it's in Madison and the Madison community.
Yes, it is so exciting just to be a part of this whole movement. I'm a resident, been born and raised here in Madison. Yeah. Madison has never seen anything like this before, and I knew there was a need, you know, but I wasn't really aware of the impact until the first event that we had at the Urban League, and we opened the doors, and there were so many women out, and we were like, oh,
they were waiting
are we going to be able to handle the crowd? But we were very intimate that day, and now, as you know, we cap at 500. So,
well, let's be straight about it. I mean, like a lot of things, Madison and Dane County have disparities in women's health, in Black children and families' health that are embarrassing nationally.
Well, and on a local level, as far as like my own immediate family, I have, just through the work of the foundation, been afforded the opportunities to hear conversations that help my immediate family, help myself. I was actually encouraged to, and started a few years ago, a lupus support group for women of color. And just things like that that pulls around our independent, our immediate needs as women of color in Madison.
Another illness that disproportionately affects African-American women, right? Lupus?
Yes, yes. And so it's just because of the foundation's work, and we are spreading the net across the whole city of Madison to bring women together to talk about health issues that they've never really had these conversations before. And like I said, I can personally attest to the fact that Madison has never seen anything like this, and it is so exciting and exhilarating just to have that force in Madison, that we are creating things that we need for ourselves.
I think there's a sense of community pride that we have Black Women's Wellness Day here. And as I was talking to Corinda about, Lisa, the foundation kind of gives it structure.
Yes.
I mean, it gives it a formal kind of structure.
Yes. So, as we said before, the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness grew out of Black Women's Wellness Day. We introduced ourselves via the event, which has just ballooned over the last 7 years. So from 40 women in a library to capping it at 500, possibly could go more. So that's the gateway of how women come to know us often. And not just women here in Dane County. We now have busloads of women coming from Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, Texas, New York. And that's because the issue of Black women's health is so urgent and it is so imperative, especially in our state. But women across the United States know this issue well.
Well, they're taking this example back to their communities.
They're taking this example
trying
back.
to recreate it.
Exactly. That's actually one of the requests we have now, is how do we create this in counties outside of Dane. We'll get to that. The big issue that we have to contend with here is that Wisconsin leads the nation in health disparities for Black women and quality of life disparities. We've all read the Race to Equity report, the Annie Casey reports. We know that many articles have positioned Wisconsin as the hardest state for racial, highest levels of racial inequality, and that's kind of a Midwestern phenomenon as well that spreads across several states here in the Midwest. Black women are disproportionately impacted by largely preventable illnesses at a higher rate than other women. We are more impacted by infant mortality and low birth weight, which is one of the critical issues that our organization and several others in our 4 health systems, Dane County Health Council, are working to address right now. There was a wonderful article by Bravo Magazine recently highlighting the efforts of the Harambe Village doulas and the Today Not Tomorrow Family Resource Center and others who are really focusing from many angles on the many pieces of this angle, because no matter where you sit, when you talk about disparity, there are many, and they're all connected to one another. And it really has been the foundation's focus and our goal to elevate and illuminate that issue, to bring a public accountability, to really show people that this is not a Black community issue, this is a community issue, and that it is our responsibility collectively to find solutions to that. And we believe that we're in a position because Madison, Greater Madison, Dane County is such a resource-rich community of smart people, committed organizations. We have some of the most high-quality health care in the nation. We have a Big Ten university with massive resources, and they're a great partner. We have all the tools we need at our disposal, and a very concerned community of women and others who are ready and positioned to address this. We have to move from what I call worst to best for Black women's health, and that's the foundation's charge to ensure that we do.
It feels, Corinna, like from a board perspective, that there are more community partners coming on board here to be a part of this.
Well, I think that there certainly are more community partners coming on board, and folks who would never have been at the table before are now coming to the table to talk about Black women's health, and now asking us how can we help, or can you help us? Because the goal is really to get Black women's health to decrease those disparities like Lisa talked about, and it really is going to take the whole village. As you say, it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to change outcomes too, right, for folks. So we know that this has to be a collaborative effort in order to change these outcomes. We can't do it by ourselves.
Well, and I like the way you positioned it, Lisa, because it is not just a Black women's issue. The village is also looking at Native American health issues that are specific to that community, Latino issues that are specific to that community. And solving one helps solve others.
It does.
Absolutely.
It comes down to, because some of it, a big part of it is improving healthcare access, improving health literacy. We engage in massive health promotion, education activities throughout the year. So Black Women's Wellness Day is the big thing that everybody knows about. But we do workshops, trainings of health workers we're beginning to do. We are going to deploy over 100 neighborhood-based wellness ambassadors over the next year with funding that partners have come to the table to support. We educate Black women on those key major health issues that impact us here: heart disease, diabetes, stroke, cancer, maternal child health issues, focusing on prevention and awareness building, and mobilizing them, activating them to learn how to practice those healthy behaviors. But we also spend lots of time educating our community, decision makers, influencers, policy makers, about real solutions that address the underlying issue of opportunity.
And Neil, we're getting results too.
I want to talk about that. Now, I'm going to ask you about that, Doctor, when we come back for the record right after this.
Come discover the power of Tempur-Pedic sleep at Denver Mattress. And right now, get a gift card for up to $300, along with our 365-night better sleep guarantee and free delivery. Denver Mattress is your Tempur-Pedic elite retailer.
This is an exciting time in the energy industry. The world is changing, and we want to work toward common goals.
Toward a cleaner energy future, driven by innovation, powered by working together.
By working with customers, we provide customers what they want.
MG&E is your community energy company for the future, powering our community, sharing your values, partnering to meet your needs. Visit Energy2030together.com to create a more sustainable future together.
It's a new day and a new beginning for those who are moving freely and without pain. Thanks to the joint replacement team at SSM Health, orthopedic surgeons and specialists who take the time to get to know you and will help get you back to doing what you love most. SSM Health, for everything that moves you.
The skills you develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you a head start on your career. Gain practical experience with technology and equipment that will give you a leg up in the civilian world. Learn critical leadership skills and to be part of a team. Serve your community and your country part-time while earning money for an education. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about the paid training and career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Come discover the power of Tempur-Pedic sleep at Denver Mattress. And right now, get a gift card for up to $300, along with our 365-night better sleep guarantee and free delivery. Denver Mattress is your Tempur-Pedic elite retailer.
It is the 10th annual Black Women's Wellness Day, coming up September 22nd. That's what we're talking about this morning. And Dr. Jones, if you would, please. Congratulations. How are we doing? What kind of progress are we making on these issues?
We're making progress. We have women who come back to these sessions year after year, sharing and showing us the weight loss that they've sustained, the oxygen that they've come off, the walkers that they've gotten rid of, the substance-free lives that they're starting to live. And we've got
longer insulin dependent. Their blood pressure is under
we've got
control.
communities across the state and even across the state line sending their young children, young adults, and women who are disadvantaged, sending them to our conference looking for answers so that they can be empowered and educated and know that they can make smart choices that will impact their lives and their families. We're seeing those results. They're writing us back. They're coming back to the meeting and calling us as soon as they hear about it. In fact, I've got people in Chicago calling me saying, hey, are the tickets available? Are the tickets available? Because they've heard about the results that we're getting.
Are you sensing this optimism in the community, Mary?
Definitely, most definitely. Yeah. My phone is just nonstop.
And you're an ambassador. Lisa mentioned ambassadors, and that's one of your roles, right?
Definitely.
So the opportunities here, Lisa.
Yeah, the point I was making before we went to break is that it's a point that I make when I speak about this, and that's another thing. We advocate. We're in many spaces and places that we don't publicly talk about, really trying to pull every sector of our community into this discussion about how do we solve this issue. Health systems are responsible, of course, in making sure we're delivering excellent care, that there's culturally competent care, that we are eliminating unintentional biases that are happening in those systems, that people are covered. You know, our systems have to ensure that there's access to care. But there's a bigger picture of looking at what are the gaps in making Madison and Greater Madison and Dane County and Wisconsin a place of opportunity for everyone, where every family can thrive, where every family can secure family-supporting jobs, where resources are readily available. Everyone agrees that this is an opportunity-rich city and county and region, but what are the barriers keeping some families, keeping Black women from maximizing those opportunities? To turn that tide of the story. I think everyone's tired of hearing about Wisconsin and Dane County leading in disparities. What are we going to do about it? And this is one dimension, what we're doing about it.
We're leading in women's wellness.
We want to lead in women's wellness. We are leading. We have the evidence to show that Black women respond. When we first started this work and brought it here, there were folks who said Black women will not come together to talk about health. Black women, you will not be able to get them into a room to talk about how they want to change health policy. They don't show up for these things. And we said, well, they're going to show up for this. Each year we impact over 1,000 women and girls directly through our education and outreach. We have massive stories from women every day about how their lives have turned around. We do a lot of behind-the-scenes work with advocacy, not just health-based, helping women connect to housing, to jobs, to quality child care. We advocate for them in the court system where there's a big gap. There was an article recently about the overrepresentation of black children in the foster care system. And there are many pieces to that. And we are filling a vacuum quietly, case by case, to help black women navigate those systems and to influence systems and looking at how are we approaching and building the capacity of families who may be in a struggle right now without criminalizing them, without turning a scenario into something adversarial that is breaking families apart. And that's a complex piece. And so there are many ways to enter into this space. We enter into many of them because all of these things impact quality of health outcomes, and the strength of families.
Well, thank you all. Congratulations on 10 years. I'd like to say here's to 10 more, but I guess ultimately we want this not to exist anymore. Where there's not a need for...
We would like to not be needed in the same ways because we want to look back and say we eliminated those disparities. Black women are thriving in Dane County and Wisconsin. We set the standard for the nation.
But the encouragement to continue to do this well is always going to be there. Thank you. We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this.
Thank you.
Days start early and they end late, sometimes with an overtime shift to make ends meet. That's the Wisconsin way. I know what it's like, growing up in an immigrant family, working third shift to get through college, and 16-hour days to make ends meet, caring for my patients and raising my kids.
I've helped make Wisconsin better, and I'll bring that same passion to Washington. I'm Leah Buchmere, and I approve this message.
For well over a decade, WISC TV3 and Channel 3000 have paid tribute to top-notch teachers nominated by our viewers. Every month, we spotlight and salute an area teacher, and we want to hear about your favorite. If you know a teacher who deserves to be recognized as a top-notch teacher, send us a letter, an email, or nominate a teacher at channel3000.com.
Top-notch teachers, sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries and by Concordia University.
How do you show up? Do you just bring it? Or do you bring it all?
Focus.
Third row like a pro. Get this low mileage lease on this 2018 GMC Acadia SLE1 for around $269 per month for 36 months. Plus, current lessees can get $1,500 additional lease cash.
For an attractive offer, visit these GMC dealers today.
At Pick and Save, you'll find big savings, low prices, delicious food, and personalized savings at your fingertips. So you can save from anywhere. And you get more for less. Say hello to new low prices at Pick and Save. Like head lettuce, just 99 cents each.
My thanks to Lisa Payton-Kerr and the whole Black Women's Wellness team. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on For the Record.